Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to a very new world. This was supposed to be the start of TCR Europe for 2020 at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit this weekend. However, due to the circumstances that we find ourselves from around the world, we're stuck at home. And that means a brand new world for all of our competitors in TCR Europe and beyond, the world of virtual racing. Some will have lots of experience in this. Some may never have stepped into a virtual race car before, let alone a virtual race. So we thought we'd kick off the championship here at Spa-Francorchamps in the virtual world. My name is Ben Cotson-Juris, and it's such a pleasure to have the TCR shirt back on my shoulders and to be guiding you through these two races this evening. We'll have qualifying coming up in just a few moments' time, and then we'll have, like every TCR weekend, two races. The grid for race 2 formed from a reverse grid of the result of race 1, and the grid for race 1 formed from the results of qualifying. There actually is points available throughout the whole of the sessions that you will be seeing this evening. There is points for qualifying and then points for both the races as well. And at the end of the day, if you come out on top of the point scorers, then the driver will have the ability to win 2 Yokohama tyres to then use in the TCR Europe Championship when we eventually get going in the real world. So it isn't just a case of doing this for fun. This is a bit of seriousness. And therefore, these drivers over the next couple of months will be taking this incredibly seriously and trying to win those prizes. We are going to do a full championship of 7 rounds to all of your favourite TCR Europe circuit. So we're starting with Spa-Francorchamps, and we'll be ending at the middle of July in Barcelona. We'll take in the Red Bull Ring. We'll take in Hungary, Paul Ricard, Zolder, and Monza across the next couple of months, and I'll be here to guide you through the way. I don't imagine that the entry list will always stay the same as we continue through this. There'll be many of you, if you're competing in TCR series in the past, going, well, I fancy a go in this. We have 25 drivers entered for this particular race. A lot of them already have an entry into TCR Europe for the season, and a couple of them are wild cards and guest entries. So you've already seen the entry list, and it's a fantastic entry list with many drivers that are on the top of their game in the real world. But when it comes to the virtual world, have to wait and see. We have no idea how good, for instance, Tom Coronel will be sitting at home in his simulator, although I do know that he has got a secret weapon up his sleeve. He's had some coaching from the first world's fastest gamer, no nonetheless, and Holland have got a load of gamers from the very best in simulation. So expect to see a couple of the Dutch drivers doing particularly well. We've got Michael Ashkenaar, the champion from TCR Europe a couple of years ago, and he's rejoining the series. Fantastic to have these kind of names. Julien Brichet, the Claret brothers as well, Daniel Nagy, and of course, if you think back to the likes of Norbert Michelis, he started his life racing in the virtual world and made his progress from there into the real world. None of these drivers are doing that. They've all got themselves real world seats already. And it's also fantastic to see, as you would have seen in that entry list, that we've got 7 different brands available to these drivers. We're using the platform Assetto Corsa, and 7 different brands of car have been modeled in the game. They look absolutely stunning. You can see behind me, there's Tommy Coronel in practice, and he is driving a Honda. We've got Audi, we've got Hyundai, we've got Volkswagen, we've got Cupra and the Peugeots as well. And so a really great representation and a really great breadth of choice as well, because it's not that they've all gone for the same car like we're seeing in other forms of virtual racing. They are all choosing their different brands. So we've got a great different look to the field and a great entry list of drivers. And of course, the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, which is absolutely pinch perfect in terms of the way it has been modeled. So every bump, every braking zone, every compression, the drivers will feel that through the steering wheel. And if they're lucky enough to have a virtual motion rig, they'll actually be able to feel it through the rig moving around as well. All of those cues, the curves, the bumps, will give them a sensation of being at the real Spa-Francorchamps and hopefully allow them to perform in their best possible way. In a few moments' time, then, we'll get qualifying underway. It's going to be a 20-minute session, and that will establish the grid for race 1, as I said. The race itself, there'll be 55 kilometres, and if you do know Spa-Francorchamps, it's just over 7 kilometres in length, and therefore it's only an 8-lap race, so not a lot of opportunities for overtaking. And now, maybe this is your first dip into the virtual world, and therefore you're kind of not quite sure what to expect. I know quite a few of you out there have done a lot of watching virtual racing whilst we've been in lockdown, and therefore you'll be quite familiar with the fact that virtual racing is even more exciting than real racing. Now, so you take virtual racing as the most exciting form of motorsport, then you take TCR as the most exciting real motorsport that exists, and TCR Europe being the top echelon of that. Put the two together, and I expect to see the most insane races that virtual racing and TCR have presented so far. So get yourselves strapped in and ready. Good evening if you are in Europe. Good morning if you're around the rest of the world. Good afternoon as well. And perhaps you're even watching in the middle of the night. Whatever you need to enjoy this, get yourselves ready. We're about to go into qualifying mode for the first round of the TCR Europe virtual season at Spa-Francorchamps, my favourite track in the world. So just a few technical things to get the drivers logged in. Slightly different process for these drivers. Not a case of jumping into your car, putting your straps on, driving out your awning or your garage and onto the track. All kinds of technical things that a lot of the TCR organisation have got themselves to get used to. I've actually just taught the TV director how to use web WhatsApp. He's incredibly excited by that. So education for all of us in this virtual world, and all these drivers trying to work out how to get into the session and then get into the race. So if there is a little bit of a delay, this is the first round. This is kind of a test, although there's been a lot of testing going on before this day to make sure that it's as fast as possible. You can see behind me that the cars are pretty much all in the garage. So we will be getting running in our 20-minute qualifying session in a few moments' time. and then we can find out who was the fastest. I can tell you actually that Nagy was the fastest in practice. A 2:25 was the best lap time. Well, a couple of quirks for this series. If you have been watching virtual racing, then normally the sim takes care of track limits. So if you do run 4 wheels over, then the sim will tell you that you've done that and will disallow your lap. Unfortunately, because of the sensitivity in Assetto Corsa, we've decided to turn that off. Otherwise, we may not get any qualifying laps. But we do have a human race director, and he will be looking at the laps and making sure they're all legal. And then, of course, making the decisions when it comes to contact, whether there is any foul play. And he can then throw in a drive-through penalty or a black flag into the game, and the drivers will have to adhere to that. So that is one of the rules that we've got. Of course, in terms of warming temperatures, getting the brakes and the tyres up to temperature, that is very much like it would be in real life, although I don't think they've got tyre warmers in this particular simulation, and therefore it will take a couple of laps to get the tyres up to temperature. And there will be, as I say, a difference of experience in this field. For instance, I was sent a press release by the Bachmann brother and sister, and they have only just got into sim racing. They had 1 rig. They've now got 2 rigs, and they're side by side. They look fantastically good rigs. But it's one of the really interesting things about sim racing. It is not just a case of these guys all getting into similar machinery. What they have at home, whether it be a cheap €300 steering wheel or whether they have a thousands of euros wheel, may well give you a different sensation as to how you drive. So a first look then at the cars on circuits, and thank you very much to TCR Europe for giving me a spotter's guide, so I can tell you that Target Hyundais are heading out onto circuit first. No names or numbers on the cars, just to make it a little bit more tricky for me, but that is the first car out on track. And then, as of course, Andreas Bachmann. Opportunity to look at the circuit then, the Spa-Francorchamps circuit for the first time. Modified in the early 1980s. Obviously, Spa-Francorchamps, a racetrack, stems back from the 1940s or 50s. But when Formula One decided it was too dangerous for them to do the original layout of what? No, I'm not even going to try to tell you how many kilometres that was, because it'll be off the top of my head and it'll be wrong. Either way, it's now just over 7 kilometres in length. Shortened in, I think, 1984 was when it reopened with this kind of shortened loop. But it still kept the same spirit of flowing fast, medium speed corners. And then just as we come back down to this part of the circuit, you'll see the access road behind that house there. That's the access road. And now we're back onto the original circuit that runs back towards La Source. We're running the Formula One style, so the start and finishing line is on the top rather than on the run down to Eau Rouge. So Bachmann's the first man out on circuit. He won't be benefiting from the slipstream, which I think I would want a slipstream, to be honest. Little lock up of the rear wheel, as you come to expect from front-wheel drive TCR cars, and an opportunity to see just how well simulated this game is. Over the line then, Bachmann starts his lap, and he's closely followed by his teammate for this season, Argentine Jose Manuel Sapang. He'll be trying to learn the circuit. And then you've got just behind them the 3 MTU Racing Audis. And they were very good in the test race that I did the other day. With the orange highlights is Bart. With the green highlights is Langeveld, Niels Langeveld from WTCR. And then Gilles Magnus with the yellow highlights. Those 3, and they'll be dragging each other all the way down this Kennel Straight. And I'm pretty sure that would be a bit of an advantage. So the first car is Magnus, second car is Bart. And Langeveld right behind Bart. Now, this is where that slipstream and the closeness between the 2 cars is not beneficial, because he's caught him so much. He'll have a great sector 1, but I don't know whether his middle sector will be very good, as Gilles Magnus just locks a little bit going in through Bruxelles. Look how close he is, less than half a tenth of a second, so he needs to hope that Magnus is running at a decent pace. On board. One of the quirks of sim racing is that you do tend to use a little bit more steering lock than you would do in a real car. So you'll see the steering, that'll be representing exactly what Niels will be putting into the sim, but he probably is doing a little bit more steering than he would do in the real world. That's just kind of the way that you can get the best performance. Onto the bottom straight then. Bachmann will be the first man to set a lap time. You can see his teammates slowly... Well, actually, no. It was kind of foreshortened. It looked like he was being caught, Jose Manuel Sepan, but actually there's a decent space between them, and the drivers will come over the line and will set their first lap times. So let's see what Bachmann can do. As I say, running on his own. Over the line he comes... 27.5, not bad, but look on the left-hand side now. The tower will start filling in, and Boldis is the fastest man. Daniel Nagy now faster, 26.0 from Nagy. Nagy in the Hyundai. Boldis for Zengo Motorsport in the Cupra. Gianni Morbidelli, look at that for a name, in 9th position. Fantastic to have the likes of Gianni Morbidelli. He's actually the only one running a Volkswagen for West Coast Racing, the only Volkswagen in the field, and perhaps familiar colours to some of you, but for me, I'm always used to the West Coast Racing cars being blue, so perhaps showing my age a little bit in that I've not watched TCR as closely for the last couple of years as when I was commentating in the real world a couple of years ago, and I have to say it's so great to be back with the TCR Europe team. Is Michael Ashkenar then, foray into the World Championship last year, running in a Cupra. Interesting colours on that car. Got a bit of traffic, Ashkenar. 3rd fastest after that first foray of laps. Now gets himself past Boldis. So he obviously had a good toe and a good pace from those two running together to get themselves 2nd and 3rd on the grid. Look at the timing screen, timing tower. Jimmy Claret and Teddy Claret 7th and 8th in the Peugeots. 2 Bachmann's 9th and 10th. And then 11th Studenc. Davidoff 12th, Morbidelli 13th, and Coronel in 14th. I wonder whether that's all of the drivers that we've got in terms of lap times so far. Do have 25 in the entry list. I think all 25 are there. Ashkenar over the line to start a new lap. Interesting to see quite a few drivers in the pits. The session is 20 minutes long, so plenty of time to go in and reset, especially if you feel like you've taken the best of your tyres. These tyres perhaps not behaving the same as they would do in the real world. Maybe able to get more than 1 or 2 laps out of the tyres in the real world, but the virtual world, perhaps you take more out of them as we watch Nagy and 99. For BRC, the kind of pseudo-works Hyundai team. Nagy is the pole man right now. Can he improved his lap time last time through? Found 0.3 of a second. Go for a 25.7. Now, if the tyres are dropping off, and that's why we're seeing so many people going into the pits, then perhaps this will not be a faster lap time. hearing from our race control that we do sadly have 2 non-starters, so we're only going to be down to 23 cars. And one of these quirks of virtual racing is that the most important thing is a thing called ping. Ping is the kind of response that your internet connection gives you to the game. Now imagine that your ping was every 2 seconds, let's say. That means the drivers around you would only see you refresh every 2 seconds. And that, of course, would be not only very distracting, but it would be quite dangerous because you'd end up being able to drive through, you would end up crashing into a car that you couldn't see. So it's very important that every driver has the lowest ping possible. And some games actually limit that to under 100 milliseconds. MS, don't know if that's milliseconds or not. And if you are over that, then you will get thrown automatically out the game. We don't quite have the same situation here in Assetto Corsa, but we do have race control monitoring everyone's pings because we don't want to see cars jumping all over the place. It just would be too distracting and potentially cause accidents. And therefore, unfortunately, it looks like Aurelien Comte and Abdullah Al Khalifa will not take the start. But really unfortunate. Nothing really also that they can do. It's quite a difficult thing to fix other than taking your sim and plugging it into somebody else's internet, which is possible. I do know stories of that happening with racing drivers around the world. Is Nils Langeveld then. 6 positions so far, 26-4. We've now got 20 times on the board, with Tom Coronel the slowest, 15 seconds slower than Nagy. Coronel's just finished a lap, and obviously not an improvement, so he parks out on the exit of La Source. And he will reset. Here's the brutal fish cars going through screen. Good to see those liveries here. Julien Brichet comes through, and followed by... I've got to get this right because I got this wrong the other day. It's Jimmy Clary. It's Baldis then, second position. 0.4 of a second off Daniel Nagy. We do have now 21 times, I think, on the board. Morbidelli, Ventaya and Coronel at the tail of the field. Ball with Baldis. Is there going to be an improvement here? Can he get closer to Nagy? To the final chicane. As late as you like on the brakes. Try and kind of get the rear end to rotate without it overtaking, and over the line then, straight towards the line. 0.3 off. It is an improvement, but it's still in the 26s. So Nagy, the only guy in the 25s right now, as Morbidelli parks up on the outside. Morbidelli's time has improved, but not in terms of position. There he is. He'll be resetting back to the pits in a few moments' time. So Nagy, Baldis, Ascona, Magnus Langeveld, Claret, Omola in 8th position. Great to see Matteo Omola as part of this. Then we have Teddy Claret, Nicolas Bert, Studenc Batman, Checon in the Alfa Romeo in 13th, Jessica Batman in 14th, and then Julien Brichet 15th. An improvement there from Teddy Claret. No, Langeveld, I think. Teddy Claret. Teddy Claret up to 7th, ahead of his brother. So 6 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Heading off on another lap. No slipstream this time. No advantage in that sense. down towards Econ. Just after the curb starts, that's where you get your braking zone in. Take as much curb as possible. Look how much lock he's using. Really turning the car way, way more than you would do in a real car. That would fill the tyres and upset the car. Just touching fifth gear for into Bruxelles. Hold your line until you can open the wheel up. And actually, I think he could have just got a little bit more out of that corner. Now towards Pouot. Let's see how much of a lift, how many gears down here. Just very quickly onto sixth, but then back down to fifth gear, and now on the throttle. Quick look at Eddie's livery. Now we switch our attention to Matteo Omola. Teammates to Nagy in the BRC team. Omola in 9th position, around a second slower than his teammate, as Ashkanar improves up to 3rd, or stays in 3rd, but improves his time. Omola 0.8 of a second off his teammate. This is a warm-up lap then. He's got Gianni Morbidelli behind him. A bit worried for Tom Coronel, because Coronel is, according to that timing screen, 15 seconds slower than anybody else. It's very embarrassing to be lapped. Oh, Jimmy Claret up to 3rd position. It's time from Claret to the 2nd row of the grid. Is he going to go again, or is he going to reset? Looks like he might be going again, you know. He's not got slipstreams on offer to him, and I really do think that you can find yourself a playmate using that slipstream down the Kemmel Straight and then all the way back towards Blanchimont and the bus stop chicane. Pretty sure that would be of benefit, but not seeing that strategy playing out too much. Even the come to you guys are split. Oh yeah, there's a really rare looking machine. Fantastic to have Jack Young in the race today. He is in the Renault Megane. There it is. We just saw it flick through the screen. Unfortunately, Jack is down in 19th position, and so he's not too far off. It looks like he's going to have a nice battle with Martin Rieber if that's his pace. Lovely to see the Renault. I didn't list the Renault earlier on, and nice to have that car as part of this virtual championship. Keep an eye out on that leaderboard. If anything goes red, that means that somebody's finished a lap. I would have thought most people are winding themselves up for a last gasp chance. The track will develop. There will be a progression in the way that the track offers grip, like there would be in the real world. So you may see that. And Bart, look, Nicholas Bart goes up into 5th position, just a fraction behind Michael Ashkanal. There is Bart in the Come To You colours. Now he is the fastest of the Come To You Audis. Teammate Magnus and Longerveld 7th and 8th. So good improvement from Bart. Now with just 1 minute and 50 seconds remaining, time to really see if anybody can improve. We've got Studenc, Bachmann and Kent all in pits as Gilles Magnus comes over the line and puts himself into 2nd position. Again, can't quite get into the 25s, but it's a great lap from Gilles. Hommler improves up to 8th. Morbidelli gets himself off the tail of the field into 20th position. Coronel's improved up to 15th, so now he's in the game. There is Tom Coronel. Is he going again? Through Fanier. Now down to campus. Named because there is a school or university or engineering school just on the inside there. Then I like to call that corner Stavelot, because Stavelot as a name for a corner has disappeared from Spa-Francorchamps, which is a travesty, basically. I think that corner is now officially called Paul Frere, I think. Somebody called it karting the other day on a virtual race, and I'm not sure that's an official name, but there is a kart circuit on the inside. Right, Coronel to the end of the lap then. Oh dear, he's 10 seconds off, miles away. So this is going to be a wind-up then for a last chance. 26 seconds remaining as he goes over the line. That was a slow lap from Coronel. Got a little bit of traffic ahead of him. Looks to me like that could be a Peugeot. But not entirely sure which Peugeot. Oh, it's Ventager. So that's actually the slowest car. He's the slowest man out on track right now. And so Coronel won't want to be caught in any tomfoolery that might happen between the two of them. Stefan, very much in the middle of the road. And that will be putting Coronel off as he comes into the braking zone. I have a feeling he might catch Stefan in the wrong place. Right, back with Gilles Magnus. Can he get himself into the 25s? An improvement from Davidoff up to 15th. Nagy is in the pit, so we're not going to see him improve. Great early lap from Daniel Nagy. So they've all been able to test as Magnus comes into the pit lane. So no improvement from Magnus. Lots of drivers will have now completed their laps. We just need to look at the guys who are running around the back of circuit. Julien Brichet, for instance, and Jimmy Claret. Here's Claret. Claret in 4th position. Can he find himself just a couple of hundredths? No, he goes into pit lane. He's out of it. Still a couple of drivers out there, though. Coronel being one of them. Rieber is also completing the lap. Here's Coronel. We know that he's still able to finish a lap time. Coronel running and has now got past Stefan Ventager. So I think having to have overtaken in the middle of that, the middle of the lap, means he's probably not going to get a better time, is he? Let's see. Actually, he must have timed out of this or run wide because the clock's not even running for Coronel. So I think he's going to be going to the pits. Still a few cars out onto track, though. I can see we've got... who else is out there? So Benz and the Cupra. But no clock on him, so presuming he is finished the session. And I don't think anybody would have been able to go over the line and start a lap because the session is over. Yeah, we're fading out the session, and that means qualifying is over. Nagy on pole, Magnus in 2nd position, Boldis and Claret on row 2, Ashkenaut and Bart on row 3, Tenk and Claret, Teddy Claret that is, on row 4, Homler and Langeveld, then Studench and Bachmann, Chicon and Jessica Bachmann 14th, Davidovsky and Coronel 15th and 16th, Brichet and Young, Rieber, Morbidelli, Lewis Kent in 21st, and Stefan Vengia in 22nd position. So actually, does that mean we lost 3 cars? I think we did out of the entry list. So there we go, qualifying. Hope you enjoyed that. And we'll now just give the drivers a little chance to reset, get themselves a bit of water, and then we'll get the racing underway. Just trying to look at my entry list to see who wasn't racing. And I think actually we only lost 2 drivers. We didn't have Aurelien Conte and Abdullah Al Khalifa, sadly, and really sadly, because that car, that Cupra of Khalifa, sponsored by QMMF, you may have seen it in some of the promotional shots. Looked absolutely awesome. The purple and white and grey was a great livery. So hopefully he can get himself sorted for the next round of the championship. As I've said, this is a 7-round championship, and therefore opportunity to dive in the next couple of weeks. We will be visiting Monza. We'll be visiting the Red Bull Ring and next, which I think is approximately the same time as we would have been going to Red Bull Ring anyway. All the following races, I should say, will be taking place on Wednesday evenings. So this a launch event, Saturday evening, prime time. But there's so much sim racing going on Saturdays that it makes sense to have TCR night. Wednesday night, TCR night. So if you do want to continue following our championship, then make it a date, 7 o'clock European time, every other Tuesday, basically. Every other Wednesday, sorry. And we will be here. And, of course, keep up to date with all our social channels to make sure you know exactly when we are racing. Just a couple of moments then for the real drivers to get themselves into the race session. Then we can go racing for the first time. And if you are just joining us, thank you very much for joining us. This was supposed to be the first weekend of TCR Europe for 2020 at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, alongside the TCR 500 endurance race and alongside the 24-hour series race as well. But instead, due to this lockdown that's now across the majority of the world, we and all the drivers are stuck at home. And thankfully, is virtual racing. Many of these drivers are finding themselves in virtual racing or taking it seriously for the first time, and therefore a real mix of talents across our grid, and not perhaps the mix of talents that you might expect to see when it comes to real world, although Daniel Nagy is probably one of the best drivers in the TCR Europe field, and therefore it seems to be pretty representative of his talent in the virtual world. For some reason, Middle Eastern bloc countries are just fantastic at virtual racing. And Nagy in Hungary, very well known. Slovakia and Slovenia producing some fantastic drivers as well. And also, weirdly, for some reason, the Netherlands, although Tom Coronel not doing a great job of flying that flag. Coronel racing for Eat My Dust, of course. I wonder how much dust he will provide. The last time I commentated on Coronel in a TCR car going into Spa-Francorchamps, I think he caused an absolutely massive accident going into La Source for the first time. So fingers crossed he behaves himself and we can get through La Source cleanly. It's always a big place for problems and it's really, really, really difficult to know exactly where to brake on cold tyres and just tiptoe through this first lap to make sure there are no issues. Right then, 6 lights are on. And we are racing for the first time in TCR Europe virtually. I cannot see the cars. They are so far away. Looks like we might have got a penalty. Oh no, penalty is locked for 25 seconds. So that means they won't get penalties through the first turn. And it doesn't look like anybody got turned around. There was a couple of cars at the back of the field. And thankfully, our graphics instantly showing us it wasn't a good start from Gianni Morbidelli or Tom Coronel. Coronel down in 21st position. But Nagy leads boldest from Magnus and Ascona as they come towards the first major braking zone. They've wound themselves up into pace and now into the braking zone at Lecombe. Oh, one car going off right. That looks to be like one of the Brutal Fish cars. And that may, although actually Matto Homola's lost a position along the straight and he's losing more. Quite see at the tail of shot exactly who that was. And Homola now muscling with Studec. So, yes, it was Studec that was off, I think, going into the braking zone of Lecombe, but managed to keep himself facing the right direction. And his Bart in 7th spot, so he got bullied, presumably in La Source, and has dropped down to 7th spot. A sandwich of Clares he's in right now. Me ahead, Teddy behind. Now's the time to start to settle down and relax a little bit. To work out, Tom Coronel must have missed the start. He's 40 seconds back, and he's only half a lap through. Presumably, Coronel will be streaming this on his own channel, so plenty of you will be able to second screen and find out why he's doing so badly. There's only one car behind him, and he's just come out of the pits, Victor Davidoff. So presumably Davidoff also finding himself caught out, and Martin Rieber as well, just exiting pit lane now. So a couple of drivers finding themselves a little bit left behind at the start of this race. But such is the craziness of virtual racing, we may see plenty of changes. Side by side, just going through Blanchimont, not necessarily the way to do it. I think that was Hommler and Longueville, perhaps. It's Claret and Bart, bang wheels. Claret on the inside, Bart on the outside, and Bart loses one and he'll lose another as he runs off track. So Hommler up to 8th position, Claret, Teddy that is, in 7th, and Ashkenat going down the inside of Gilles Magnus. So Ashkenat up to 3rd, but only just because Magnus has got the switchback. They bang wheels on exit, and now they run side by side down towards Eau Rouge. Back ahead, Magnus gets. Possibly not the best place to be, because now the slipstream all the way down the Kemmel Straight. To all of you watching, I do apologise if I've got some of the pronunciations a little bit wrong. I do my best, but it's one of the problems about the virtual world is you can't go into the paddock and check all the pronunciations of all the drivers, which was one of the things I would do to prepare for a race weekend. So I will do better next time, I promise. But if I am getting anything wrong, especially when it comes to Hungarian names, because they always trip me up, I apologise. Should be good at French names, though, living in France. And there is Jimmy Claret, rather than Claret, if you were British and not knowing so well. Or maybe it is Claret, and maybe I'm completely wrong. The director is now throwing me all the difficult names. Nicolas Bert, probably Bart, but I'm not sure I've got my Flemish correspondent online at the moment to tell me any different. Aj leads, Bold is 2nd. Magnus 3rd, and it's good pace from Daniel right now. He's got himself a 1.5 second gap, which means he's not going to be compromised in terms of where he is on track by somebody diving down the inside, and the two of them got good gaps. So it's Hungary 1-2 right now, flying the flag with Gilles Magnus in 3rd position. Then Ashkuna just behind. He's dropped back this lap. The closest battle there looks to me like Hommler and Teddy Claret. Hommler to the outside of Claret, later on the brakes. Ooh, that's a lovely move from Matto Hommler, all the way around the outside at the right part, and then claims the left-hander, and he moves himself up into 7th position. Nice work. Jessica Backman's had a bit of an issue. She's dropped off the tail of the group of cars, so she's now, as you can see on the timing screens, 30 seconds back and 8 seconds behind Gianni Morbidelli as Jack Young goes into pit lane. That's a shame. The Renault with problems. All right, climbs his way up. Eau Rouge. Looking for the inside. There's not a lot of space there. Now back to the outside line, but still can't find a way through. Great defending from Hommler, but now Hommler needs to get a move on and focus on moving forwards. Forget about the challenge from behind. Make up the gap through this middle sector whilst there's less of a threat of being overtaken. All of this battling also, of course, is allowing Longueveld and Bart to catch up. So it's getting close between those guys. Through Fagnes. Now a 4-car train behind Hommler. Just ahead of them, Claret and Tenke are pretty close as well. Actually, Magnus and Askiner have got closer again too. So plenty of battles to watch out for. But for the lead, it's chilled right now. All right, to the outside. Going to find a way past Tenke. Always been contact between the two in the braking zone. Claret gets himself fired off left-hand side. He was lucky to keep himself out of the wall there. Side by side, just behind, Longuevelt and Bart and Teddy Claret. So the Clarets have not had a good chicane there. Both of them losing some positions. Teddy to the inside of Bart and gets at least one position back. It's still side by side. There's a little bit of an overlap. No, he gets out of it. Sensible. But now look at how the car gets closer. That's what I mean by pig. Surely you can't run side by side up here. It's not sensible, boys. Oh, Teddy Claret. Contact between the two of them. That was very naughty by Bart, really. I only got half a nose in. Claret did a great job of saving it. And we got a change for third position. Magnus ahead of Ashkenar. Again, a slipstreamer down into Lecomte. A change of position. But now, with Ashkenar behind, he's got the opportunity to do the same again. Ball with Ashkenar, looking back at Tank. But he's not quite close enough, and Ashkenar will be looking now to line himself up for the slipstream. And then the outbraking manoeuvre down the inside. Halfway through this first race. All controlled at the front. Nagy and Boldis have got themselves sorted. Outside of that, there's still plenty of squabbling going on. Ashkenar fancies himself to get back on the podium. To the outside. This is where he needs to do it now, but surely Magnus will cover the inside line into the braking zone. He does, and is late on the brakes too, so Ashkenar has to bail out of it. Look, all of that battling is allowing Tank to come get closer and closer. I like that livery as well on the Cupra. Looks really good, the grey and the blue. Now Ashkenar to the inside. Can go really deep on the brakes, and he does, and now he needs to shut the door on the right. He needs to make sure that Bart doesn't get the overlap. A car coming out the pits there. That's going to be a lap down. I think that may have been Rieber. Ashkenar slots behind Magnus. But he's had to pull out the slipstream quite early. Has he got the overlap? I think he has. Now he's pulling alongside. That Cupra's got good power, good pull. He's on the wrong side again into Lecomte for the braking zone. Gonna try and duke it out around the outside. He's not going to be able to do that. He's going to have to take to the runoff. Oh, he's collected him. The two of them are going in the wall. And thank you very much, says Tenke, because he's got himself up into third. Oh, and Magnus got spun again by another car. And that is disastrous for Gilles Magnus. He's down into 11th position. We do have points, by the way, scoring all the way back. So wherever you finish, there is an incentive to make sure you do still finish the race. 40 points for the win, 25 for second and 30 for third. Ashkenar's still in fourth position though, so he hasn't lost too much time. But he is now heavily defending Jimmy Claret rather than attacking the third position. Meanwhile, at the back of the field, just having a quick look, Jessica Backman, Tom Coronel, 17th and 18th. Davidoff's been in the pits. Lewis Kent's been in the pits. Martin Rieber is looking to be out of this race, I think. Animal Morbidelli in 15th position. Kevin Chacon, 13th. But look at that, some 30 seconds down on our leader. Back with Gilles Magnus, making up some progress in past Andreas Backman, up into 11th spot. Now, you see, if I was Andreas, We know that the backmans are quite new to sim racing. I'd be sitting behind him and going, right, how do I do this? Oh, here's a nice battle. Alpha versus Renault. Young versus Checon. Checon, race winner in the World Championship. In the real World Championship, and actually, not sure he's competed in the virtual version of that. And decided to focus on this one. The two of them outbreak each other. Both of them way deep into the chicane. Let's not forget that whilst this is obviously serious, and they are going to be potentially have the ability to win some tyres at the end of the day, it is a lot of fun too, and they will be having great fun. And there'll be a Discord channel where all these drivers will be able to talk to each other between races and talk to race control, and there will be banter going on. There'll be lots of banter, like there would be in the paddock. Langeveld on the tail of Jimmy Claret here. A great slipstream, but there was just no way through. Langeveld would fancy a bit of a slingshot, I would have thought, to get himself perhaps into 4th position. Aji for Hyundai leads. Boldis, the Cupra, in 2nd position. It's a Cupra in 3rd as well. And 4th position for Ascona. Then the first of the Peugeots for Claret. First of the Audis in 6th position for Langeveld. TCR Racing looking so strong. It's just not gone well for them. With Bart in 8th position and Magnus in 11th. Is Bart going to find a way past Omola. 2 laps remaining. See that changing position. We go on board with Mato Homola. The question is, how does Nicola line himself up, get himself also good position into the chicane? Because there's one thing having the slipstream, there's 2 getting alongside, but then you actually need to get alongside on the right side. Or you can do that great move we saw from Mato Homola earlier, will go all the way around the outside. So Nicola forced to go on the outside, but he's later on the brakes. Can he shut the door? Can he turn in on him? He's got the inside line here. Not quite enough. Now, one of the very interesting things about sim racing versus the real world is your perception of where cars are around you is different. So you really don't know, unless you've got a triple screen or virtual reality goggles, you don't know where the cars around you are, and it's very hard to judge. You do have to give more racing room generally, otherwise you end up in an accident. And we saw there, very fair play from the 2 of them. Really a battle for 3rd position anymore, is it? Okay, he's got himself some space all on his own. So there's Ashkenar a little bit. Nobody really under pressure there through the Lecom. It all just almost feels a bit like we're winding up for excitement. I didn't notice. Julien Brichet sadly didn't manage to start the race, and neither did Jose Manuel Sepang, again due to ping issues. Quite what's going on here. I've never seen a race with so many ping issues, but Saturday night, I suppose, everyone watching Netflix. That's the problem. All using up the bandwidth. Looking at Niels Langeveld. TCR Racing Audi. Another one of those from the World Championship last year. Doesn't feel like he's really close enough to make a move into the bus stop chicane, but he may well be wanting to make it happen into Lecom or the bus stop chicane next time by, because next time by will be the last lap. Close enough this time. As he goes over the line to start his final lap. This is second. Okay, third. Then it's Ashkenat, Claret, Langeveld. Omelette, Bart. Fastest lap of his race from Nicolas Bart just now. Claret, Studic, Bachmann, and then Young and Chekon. Young now clear of Chekon in 13th. Morbidelli in 15th spot. Ventia in 16th and Coronel 17th. Bachmann and Davidoff, the runners, with Lewis Kent 1 lap down after visiting the pits. Where's Tom Coronel? More practice needed, Tommy. May well have the world's fastest gamer training you, but unless he gets in that hot seat, you need a bit more pace. Or perhaps his wife can teach him a thing or two. She looked pretty handy the other day. If you were following social media, she was doing a couple of laps. Not quite sure why Tom Coronel's sim has a roll cage, by the way. Again, if you've followed Tom, you'll be able to see exactly what his rig looks like, and got a roll cage around it. So very kind of Vika Sport to donate a roll cage to him, no doubt, but quite sure it's needed in a sim, although maybe Tom has really big accidents. Either way, are we going to see any changes to the chicane on the last time through? No changes through their com. Agi is 3.2 clear of Boldis at the head of the field. This is looking very, very clear. Langeveld, and he get close enough to Jimmy Claret into the braking zone to get himself into 5th. That's going to be the last move up, but we're going to watch the very first winner of TCR Europe's virtual season come towards the finishing line. Daniel Nagy has done it for Hyundai. He takes the checkered flag ahead of Ben Spolis. In 3rd position will be the second of the Cupras. Ashkenat making it 3 Cupras in the top 4. And then Jimmy Claret, Niels Langeveld, Matto Homela, Nicolas Bertz, and Teddy Claret. Dudic, Magnus, Bachmann, Young, Chekon, and Morbidelli, your top 15 finishes. Then Ventia, Coronel, Bachmann, and Davidoff with Kent. Rounding out the top finishes, Martin Rieber. Oh, a bit of drama on the last lap, actually. Kevin Chekon, I think Morbidelli may have dive-bombed Chekon there, and it didn't pay off, so they end up in the same positions they were, but a little change just at the final couple of points-paying positions. So we lost a few to Ping, sadly. They will all be looking to try and improve that. Martin Rieber also retired. But look at that. Spectacular to see TCR Europe represented virtually. Fantastic graphics. And Hungarian winner in Spa-Francorchamps. We will be going to the Hungaroring in the season a little bit later on. If you'd like to get in touch with me and tell me off from all my pronunciations, do please. You can find me at Ben Consti on Twitter, and I'm already getting insults from people saying West Coast Racing are red and grey last year. I know, but a couple of years ago since they were blue, but shows my age, as I said. Not going to be perfect first time round. That's the only insult. Good, that's not too bad. Then we are going to get these cars into pit lane, and we're going to reset. And in a couple of minutes' time, we're going to go with race 2 with a reverse grid. So some work for Nagy and Boldis to do to get through the pack. And be careful into La Com. And La Source for the first time. And then let's see if that produces any more excitement at the head of the field. Such is the pace from Nagy and Boldis. 10-second gap over 10 by the end. I'd say that they probably, that's a second a lap faster across the full 8 laps. So I'd say they could probably easily get through the pack. It depends on the defensive work. To see the drivers, though, respecting real world situation, driving themselves back to pit lane before coming out of the game. Doesn't happen in all virtual races. And have you been noticing all the sponsors around the track as well? Really cool to see that represented. That's it then. Race 1 is done and dusted. Nagy, Boldis and Tenke are your top 3. Skåne, Clary, Langeveld, Homela, Bart, Clary, Stulic, Magnus, Bachmann, Young, Chekon and Morbidelli. Now, results stay provisional because we still have to look at any potential incidents that may have occurred. Race control will look at what may have happened and apply penalties when needed. But we are now heading back to me. There are 5 incidents to be investigated by the race stewards, and they will be done after the race. So you'll have to keep in touch with us on all of our social channels to see the proper results. But I think for the front, for Nagy and Boldis, I would say that unless they ran off track too often, they're pretty safe in the top 2. Tenke was lucky to adopt that 3rd position after the chaos that happened at Lecom midway through the race. Maybe some investigations around the Come To You Racing contact with the Clarets as well. Difficult to say. We did see Jimmy Claret go off track and then come back and hit Gilles Magnus. So that potentially is one of the things to be investigated. And race directors have been talking to the drivers right now and saying, try please to be a bit more fair in the second race. Respect kind of how you would do in the real world. Because of course in the virtual world, there's no chance of danger. You can throw it up the inside. You're not going to hurt yourself. And even though racing is incredibly safe these days and you very rarely do hurt yourself in the event of an accident, there is still this thing in the back of your brain saying, don't do it, don't do it. Whereas in sim racing, well, I mean, in my rig, I drive like a baby, really. But a lot of these drivers will be firing it down the inside. So race control saying, please be a bit more fair. And that is absolutely fair enough. And thank you for all of those that have joined me on Twitter and joining us here on TCR Europe. We will, in a few moments' time, the race director is just talking to all the drivers, and then we'll get ourselves going for the second race. As I said, reverse grid, equal points offered for both race 1 and race 2, I think. Pretty sure that was what I read earlier on. I think. I have actually read the supplementary regulations. It's just that my brain is not absorbing everything at the moment. Not quite sure why. I wonder whether that's the virtual edition thing coming in. It's odd to be sitting in my bedroom rather than sitting at a racetrack and being absorbed by the paddock of chat and passion and excitement. So sometimes perhaps things aren't going in, or maybe that's just my brain. Who knows? The cars are on the grid for race 2, so we are able to go pretty quickly into the second race of the day here at Spa-Francorchamps. As I said, reverse grid. And I can see them. They're just there, aren't they? But we're not quite sure whether all the drivers are yet in the field. And of course, if there are any issues with connections and ping and things like that, we did see a couple of drivers miss the start, actually, of race 1, presumably because they were, I don't know, getting a drink, going to the toilet, those kind of things. All the kind of things that you really wouldn't necessarily have a problem with. Thank you very much, Harold, on Twitter for saying great job after being insulted by the experts of TCR. Nice to have somebody saying good job, even if it's my pronunciations are bad. I think you're Dutch, so at least I can say Tom Coronel, right? Well, I could probably say it better if I put on an accent, but I think that may be a little bit insulting. Right, 6 lights are on, and we are going racing once again here at Spa-Francorchamps. Not a very good start in the middle of the pack. Looked like one of the Come To You racings Cars made a very good start indeed. It was Gilles Magnus from the middle of the grid at the front of the field. It's come to you 1-2 at the moment. Oh, I think Magnus has been turned around into the wall though. One of the come to you cars is in the wall at the back. No, that is Magnus. He's clear. So maybe it was Bart. Yes, it was. Oh, unlucky. A lot of people cutting the corners at the top of Eau Rouge. Look at that over on the right-hand side. You can't even see them. Oh, hello. Appearing into shot. Jessica Batman is at the tail of the field. So she's not had a very good start. And look at Nicola Burt in 15th position. Side by side, though, for the lead of the race between Andreas Bachmann and Gilles Magnus. Maybe a little bit of contact there from Studech in third. Oh, no! Bachmann's been sent into the wall. And Studech has found himself in the lead of the race. Was it contact from him? As Teddy Claret dives down the inside for second. A little bit of wheel banging going on. That's all fair in love and war. Matto Homela's there, 3 wide with Ascanar. Ascanar had to bail out of that one, and he's lost a position to Tenke. So Tenke's up into, what is that, 5th position now. No real progress made by Boldis and Nagy. Our 1-2 from race 1. All the drama at the tail of the field. Studech is like a cork in the bottle. Got a queue of cars behind him, all trying to get past him. To the inside to defend from Teddy Claret, but Gilles Magnus is going to go all the way around the outside. Yes, he is. Has the inside line for the next part of the corner and claims 2nd position. Lovely move from Gilles there. That was local knowledge, wasn't it? TCR Benelux is his home. Contact between the two. Still more contact as they exit onto the run towards Blanchimont. Ashkanar and Teddy Claret. Agnes, oh, and that's a Tenke, sideways. Oh, he's collected. Teddy Claret trying to catch the slide. He's wiped out Teddy and the Peugeot in the process. Those two heading to the tail of the field then. And Nagy up to 4th position. As we watch him under pressure from, who was that? Matto Homler, I think. And Homler's dropped down a position, so he went too deep. After lap 1 then, Studech with a good lead. Ashkina 2nd safe. Magnus in 3rd, under pressure from Daniel Nagy. Then Bart. Boldis hasn't made as much progress, up to 6th. Andreas Bachmann's recovered to 7th position. Martin Ribber, we didn't see anything of in race 1. He's up in 8th. Jack Young in 9th. Jessica Bachmann now 10th, can you believe, after her dreadful start. Tenke 11th. Teddy Claret in 12th. Matto Homela now 13th. So he ran very deep. Slangeveld in the pits. Jimmy Claret in the pits. Too much damage. Davidoff, Ventager and Morbidelli. Where's Tom Coronel? Oh, dearie me. Nagy up to 3rd, ahead of Magnus. Now, if I was Gilles, I'd be latched onto the tail of that Hyundai and going, right, how is he doing this? How is he so fast? Brake where he brakes, turn in where he turn in. A little bit of locking going on. Let's wide on board a little bit with Daniel then, and let's see the style. Trying to make the circuit as wide as possible, using all the curbs. Knock into 6th gear just before Pouant or Double Gauche. Turn in. Now try to wind off the lock as you get on the accelerator. And then into Fagnes, bit of locking up going on ahead as Ascanar closes on Studech. Pick the curb on the left-hand side. That throws you almost to the right-hand side. Parked up car there. 1 lap down. We didn't have Coronel enter this race. Kevin Chacon is also missing. And Lewis Kent as well. So that's a big shame. Teddy Claret. The back of Jessica Bachmann. Oh, I could have done something clever with the words there. Now to the inside. Through Blanchimont. An easy pass for Teddy Claret. We see those Claret brothers with a really, really good pace in these races. Officially, I'm being told by my exec producer, it is Claret. So, again, apologies for pronunciation, but here you go. As I said before, that's not being able to talk to them beforehand. Reba up to 7th spot. A great performance as Nicolas Bert's gone into pit lane to repair his damaged car. Martin Reba, we did not have, I think he may have even missed the start of the race, but up to 7th now, 7.7 seconds off Studec. We've not yet had a change for the lead. Ashkanal 1.1 back on Studec with Nagy in 3rd, equidistant back from that. And Magnus and Boldis 4th and 5th. No changes in the top 3 coming into Lecom, and Magnus not with too much from Boldis as yet. And you can see in the back of screen Andreas Bachmann on his own. So actually quite spread out right now. Probably the closest battle is down in 11th position between Hommler and Bart. They are. Hommler looking to line up the Audi. The run's a little bit deep, but it's confusing, that corner, Brussels. You can take Bruxelles, sorry. You can take it in a couple of different ways. You can kind of run deep and fast into it and then hook up the second apex. Or you can be clean like Hommler was and kind of do a constant radius. It does mean that sometimes you see it and you think, oh, perhaps we're going to see a pass. No, we're not. By the way, it's getting closer between those 3 for 10th spot. The Claret and the Peugeot with the red stripe just ahead of them. And Hommler getting closer to Bart. But through this section of turns, it's just really not possible, really. Getting pronunciation lessons on online. So thank you for all of you, especially Hungarians, for getting in touch with me. I promise to be better next time. Right, here comes Hommler. He's going to be forced to go to the outside, though, of Bart. Bart's got the inside line, the braking zone, and Hommler did an amazing outside move there in race 1, but wasn't able to do it there. You do have to be very brave on the brakes, and that's the reason why Homler's so far back, because he went deep into that chicane. Changes at the lead. It is the closest battle at the moment, providing good entertainment on a Saturday evening. The virtual world. I think you all agree that it does look fantastic, doesn't it? Oh, better run from Matto Hommler through Radion. He's already got the overlap. Now they've got Teddy Claret in front of them as well, so they can kind of try and squabble for that slipstream as they come down towards the braking zone. And Hommler is unable to make the pass stick. He almost was too fast through Eau Rouge and Radion. He almost didn't want the overlap at the top of the hill there. He wanted to slipstream up to the tail of the car and then make the pass. Ooh, much closer at the front of the field now. Studec must have made a mistake. Eshkanar is right on his tail. Ajdi's there too. 3 for the lead then. Was in the top 10, I think, in the Honda in race 1. Oh, and Ashkanar, has he got the inside? Not quite. Brutal fish livery does look absolutely mega on the Honda. Now, there is the possibility of penalties if this pass doesn't go correct. Seen a bit of contact from drivers before. There'll be lots of things for race direction to investigate. Look how close the 3 of them are. To the outside. He does have the overlap here, but if this doesn't go right, he's opening the door to Daniel Nagy. Surely. Eshkanar goes to the outside line. Nagy will stay to the inside. He knows. Oh, is this going to work? Oh, Nagy loses the rear end. Eshkanar with a forceful pass. Door to door. And gets himself into the lead. But now we've got 4 for the lead. Because Magnus is there. And surely Boldis won't be far behind. We're on to lap 5 already of race 2. And this is getting so exciting. I love reverse grid races. 5 cars for the lead of the race in race 2 here at Spa. Kelashkina, champion from 2 years ago, leads. Daniel Nagy, Studec, Magnus, and Boldic. And a gap to Poleman, Andreas Bachmann in 6th. Martin Rieber 7th, Jack Young 8th. Tenka 9th with Teddy Claret in 10th position. But we have to focus on this. Studec has lost another position to Nagy. Honda down to 3rd position. Now Daniel looks to the outside of Ashkenar. That's almost opening the door. Studec to sniff. And he's really not had a good run of things through there. Magnus has got down to the inside of him. And Magnus is going to have the inside line into Bruxelles as well. And I think Boldis will try and follow through here. Studec has really been... Magnus hung out to dry through Bruxelles. Squabbling for 3rd position. It's all settled down now with no change. Studec, Magnus and Boldis stay together. Ashkenar and Nagy are leading too. Everybody as late as they dare under brakes. I think we're going to see some fireworks into the chicane. Race 1 winner, Daniel Nagy, lining up Mikel Ashkenar, trying to get himself in the best possible position. I don't actually think he's close enough this lap. I think the main possibility for a change here is Boldis passing Magnus. Doesn't look close enough. Don't think so, no. It'd have to be a dive bomb, and that would not be sensible from the championship leader. So, into the chicane. No change in the front 2. Magnus has got ahead of Studec, though, down the inside. And that was a good move. Hang on. Where is Studec? Studec is well ahead of them. Something's very strange has happened there. Boldis and Bachmann dropped off the tail of Studec massively. Side by side between the two of them. They must have run into Blanchimont side by side and got themselves caught up. By the way, it's given some breathing space to Studec. No changes in the top 3 then. And Magnus again on the tail of Boldis. But Boldis is the faster of these two. Remember, Bentz was 2nd in our first race. So I'd expect Boldis to be clawing in Studec rather than losing a position to Magnus. But Gilles is right on his tail. On board with Gilles. Just feels a bit like something's still going to happen, doesn't it? Effectively two more laps to go. Oh, Tom Coronel's joined us. That's nice of him. He's come out of the pits, I think. In 20th position. I have to see him though. Right, now Nagy has got a bit closer. Now this looks much more promising. This looks much more like an opportunity to get himself to the lead of the race. All this within 0.3 of a second from Studec as well. We'll be keeping an eye on both of those battles as they come through Blanchimont. Magnus on the tail as well, just to make Bence Boldis' life even harder, but I think we may see a change for the lead here. Ashkenar and Nagy are absolutely together. Nagy just with a bit more momentum through Blanchimont, but he's been forced to go to the outside, and I think he was also forced to get off the throttle. Not going to go around the outside there. That's not going to work. What about the battle for 3rd position? All this going all the way around the outside of Studec. That has worked. All this up to 3rd there. Gilles Magnus not being able to take advantage. Next opportunity for an overtake is La Source. Front 2 are locked together. Difficult to know where to look. It's side by side. Is there an overlap? Yes, there is. This is going to get dangerous. Side by side into Eau Rouge. Nagy's in the lead. How did he do that? He's given Ashkenar the slipstream all the way down the Kemmel Straight. Perhaps Ashkenar got out of the throttle a little bit. Now he sits in the slipstream. Ashkenar moves to the outside. Try and go around the outside. That's just not going to work here. And Nagy claims the racing line. Such is his confidence in the ability of his pace. 2 laps to go. And our race 1 winner is back at the head of the field. Is there another chance for Michael Ashkenar? So Hommler down, loses position to Teddy Claret, so he's down in 11th spot. There's the battle indeed. Oh, the 3 of them. So Claret, Hommler and Bart. That's the battle for 11th. Back Young's got ahead of Reba for 7th as well. So the Renault is up to 7th spot. It's happened a few moments ago. Looks like Reba may be under pressure from Tenke as Hommler gets past Claret. And now Bart comes past as well. Still everything to play for in every single part of the circuit for every little point. You see, it's just like the real race. Every single person is as competitive as they ever would be if they were here at Spa for real in the paddock. Nagy through the chicane. 1 second advantage now over Ashkenar. He's coming on to the last lap. Timed that perfectly. Oldest in 3rd position is just never going to catch up Ashkenar unless there's a problem for Ashkenar on this last lap. He hasn't made the progress he needed to. Young is falling down the leaderboard. Where's the Renault? Oh dear, that looks like a technical problem for Jack Young. Maybe a problem with his rig. Of course, you don't necessarily have car technical problems in virtual racing. You know, suspension things breaking and engines breaking. But what you do have is the things like your rig breaking, your steering wheel breaking, your brake pedal breaking, your computer turning off, your internet turning off. All of those things are issues. And Jack Young, I think, has just been subject to one of them. What a shame. He was up in 7th spot in the Renault as Tenke goes to the outside of Reba. They continue their battle. Whereas Matto Hommler in that as well. Although actually Hommler, I think, is a bit further back. Tenke all the way around the outside and into 7th. Great move. Meanwhile, at the front, Daniel Nagy has got about half a lap to go. Ashkenar is pacing him. He'll be able to see the gap between himself and Ashkenar. He'll know that maybe losing a bit of time or gaining a bit of time, he can just play with that. It's been a very, very measured drive. He did not push on lap 1. Made very little progress in the first couple of laps when there was chaos. And once everything settled down, he then just got his head down and started picking off positions. Gilles Magnus still fancies himself a 4th position here. Trying to get past Dudek in the Honda. Pause Blanchimont for the final time then. It's going to be a double victory in the first round of TCR Europe's virtual racing. Nagy is going to pick up the ultimate. All the points. Pole and for the 2 race wins. And for Hyundai, virtual victory for Daniel Nagy. Ashkenar in 2nd. Boldis will pick up 3rd. And in the battle for 4th position, it is Gilles Magnus who picks up 4th spot ahead of Studec in the end. Andreas Bachmann, a safe run into 6th position. And then a good battle with Tenke getting himself to 7th. Reba in 8th. Homola in 9th, Bart 10th, Claret 11th. That was close between all of them. And then we have a bit of time to wait before Jessica Bachmann gets herself over the line. Here she comes. It was a very poor first lap. She, in the middle of the race, got herself back into fighting position. But sadly, it's only a couple of points. Pink highlights on Jessica's car, our only female racer. She takes the checker flag behind Niels Langeveld. We'll be hoping for better next time out. Got caught up in that accident in first corner, and Victor Davidoff 14th, Gianni Morbidelli 15th, 2 minutes down in the end. Did pick up some points. Jack Young sadly did not. Claret out. Lewis Kent, Tom Coronel. Did he join us for 2 laps? Yes, he did. That was kind of him. And Stefan Ventaya in 20th position. Kevin Chacon sadly did not make it into the second race. I will now get a chance to talk to Daniel Nash, I think. I'm not quite sure if we're going to talk to anybody else, because we were supposed to talk to the winner of race 1 and the winner of race 2. We will be clever minds who have thought of the circumstance where the winner is the same in both races. I think somebody may have even told me what was going to happen. But either way, we'll get a chance to talk to Daniel, find out where he is, how much experience he's got. And he's looking forward, perhaps, to the next round of the championship, which is coming up. I shall tell you in just a second, because I have it on my screen. The Red Bull Ring on the 13th of May. 13 lap encounters around that, and the 27th of May for the Hungaro Ring. It's a Wednesday evening, races and coverage kicking off at 7 o'clock local time. And if you've enjoyed this, remember, what's great about virtual racing is that you can watch your heroes, then you get yourself a sim wheel, a set of pedals, yourself a set of Corsa, download these cars, and you can go and race on exactly the same track in exactly the same car as these guys have done. So see if you can get faster than Nagi's 26.2, his best lap on that second race. Compare yourselves to these very, very important and celebrated drivers. Nagy, Azcona, Boldis, Magnus, Studec, Bachmann, Tenke, Rieber, Homola, Bart, Eddie Claret, Jessica Bachmann, Langeveld, Victor Davidowski, and Gianni Morbidelli, your 15 finishers of TCR's Race 2 here at Spa-Francorchamps. I remember the results are all provisional, because we do have race control looking at every single one of those incidents to make sure they were fair. So do keep in touch with us on our social channels to have the confirmed result. You may have never noticed this, but actually in the real world, all the results you see on television are always provisional results, because cars have to be scrutinized afterwards. So actually, it's no different to the real world in having the provisional results straight after the race and then getting the confirmed results a bit later on. So race control with a bit of work to do to dissect everything. And we will, in a few moments' time, have a chance, hopefully, to maybe even see, if not hear, from Daniel. And we're just lining him up on Skype or any other way that we're doing it. I'm not quite sure. Maybe he gets dropped into my channel on Discord. Technology these days, it's all very confusing. Is Daniel with us now? Usual thing. The drivers, it's very difficult. There's so much technology going on that they get placed around and then they don't really know what's happening. And suddenly an ear, they start hearing somebody talking in English and they're like, what? Who's that? What's that? So, Daniel, if you are listening, it's Ben Constangeris here from the commentary box. And say hi. Say hi when you can. Maybe your microphone's not on. But all the settings, classic problems with Discord. Settings are all wrong. So it's just me in my virtual studio. Hopefully we'll be able to get him on board. or maybe another of the drivers, perhaps, can talk to before we go off air in a couple of moments' time and reconvene in Red Bull Ring. There is Daniel Nagy in behind me. And maybe a look, even a replay at how he managed to get past Michael Ashkenaut. It was a nice clean move. Ashkenaut ahead of him. Looks to the inside. Wasn't quite close enough to do it into the braking zone at the chicane. And nice and close though. Oh, no sign of Daniel Nagy, unfortunately. He's here, I can see him, but I can't hear him. So it's a bit of a shame. I'm sure he will have a full race report for you online. And now all my Hungarian friends are saying, I can do an interview instead. I can tell you how to say everyone's names. Maybe next time. Maybe next time. Thank you very much for joining us here at Spa-Francorchamps in the virtual world of TCR Europe. It's been a real pleasure calling some touring cars for you. And I look forward to seeing you on the 13th of May. Red Bull Ring will provide some more action. I'm sure the entry list will grow and get bigger and the racing will get tighter and more fun. But congratulations to Daniel Nagy for taking victory, pole position in 2 races, and therefore 2 Yokohama tyres for his season when he gets going in a couple of months' time in the real world. But for the moment, virtual edition's pretty awesome, right? See you next time.